Bam! What is going on? All right, as usual, I'm gonna wait a moment or two, allow people to join on. A little bit late, I'll be honest. The reason I'm doing this in the first place is because I got a lot of fucking energy. And my wife's watching a movie with the kids. I didn't feel like watching that movie. We watched it last week. The kids wanted to watch it. My wife promised the kids she'd watch it with them, so they're doing that. And I had some work to do. Figured why not? I knew I had energy, so I jump on. So the theme of this is your haters need you. And haters is a word that a lot of you guys became familiar with probably the last, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I don't know. It hasn't been that long. It's relatively, new term, I think. But Steve says, Justin, you look like you're about to compete in the 80s. Only if there's a war in Abu Dhabi and I'm in the U.S. Military. Yeah, no, those days are far beyond me. Everybody, the specialization in jiu-jitsu now is just not something I'm interested in. I'll probably compete again, but just because, fuck it, because nobody thinks I will. But getting back to the haters, I digress. There's something that allows people, and here's the thing that, one of the things I tell my coaching students, we have to be careful of what we use for fuel, right? Fuel's separate from motivation. Fuel is the actual fire that you burn through in order to complete a task. Now, if we use motivational tools for fuel, the motivation runs out very quickly. And if that's the fuel source, then that is exactly what's going to happen to us. If we have somebody who, how many of you can relate to starting something, getting fired up, starting something, and then, maybe it's a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, whatever it is, you're not doing it anymore. And you have all the reasons, right, the justifications for not doing it. It's because you use motivation as fuel. Now, the distinction to be made between motivation and what you should be using fuel, very simply, is are you getting this fuel externally or internally? It should always be internal. The fuel that you use to climb your ladder should always be internal. Now, getting to haters. Engaging haters is a way that people leverage motivation externally into fuel for them to use. They engage the haters, they themselves become haters, and it becomes this sort of just cyclical, ritual in mediocrity, whereby if you no longer have the hater, you no longer understand what's supposed to drive you. Now, the whole us versus them, narrative is a very powerful one when motivating a group of people, when motivating you individually. But even that needs to be internalized somehow. You do yourself a disfavor when you identify, when you put a face on the them versus the us in that paradigm. Everything needs to be internalized. That way you never run out of fuel, right? So let's talk about the haters specifically. Who are the haters? The haters are the ones that will defend their identity by lashing out at people who basically they're intimidated by. They'll never acknowledge that. They may not even be aware of it, but they'll lash out. They'll put their comments. I get them all the time. I'm not somebody that's mainstream or middle of the road with a lot of my positions, nor am I very timid. or shy or reluctant to put them out there. So yeah, I get my share of critics and people who just can't seem to communicate in some way. And it's always about them. It has nothing to do with me. Like most of these people don't even fucking know me. All the threats that I get, my canned response to people who threaten me is I show them, just send them the link to the school. Just say, hey, let me know when you're there, and I'll be there, If you don't let me know, I might be at home in PA, So it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. Because I understand it's not about me with those people. It's about them. They are people who are working their own shit out. They don't understand where their road is, where their ladder is, how to climb it, and they see somebody doing something, and somehow they interpret that as an attack on their identity, even though there's no evidence of anything directly referring to them at all. I made a video about the people who are criticizing the fasting. Oh, I can never do that. I don't do fasting. You lose too much muscle. It's like, come on, man. Come on, man. Here's the thing. Never try to convince somebody to be awesome. It's a waste of fucking time. Right? So your haters need you. You don't need them. But you could still help them, believe it or not, by continuing to walk down your path, not reinforce that behavior that they're exhibiting, and actually show them the behavior that they should be modeling from the first step. People get very easily intimidated. People get very easily offended, now more than ever, right? Because you could actually survive in society today while being offended by everything, while being intimidated by everything, and without having to overcome adversity. Like, there are actually formulas in today's society, the aquarium of America certainly, that you could actually make a living. You could actually get on, with your life. Nothing that you're going to do should ever be invested in people who are dedicated to defending their mediocrity. I don't give $1 to a homeless man on the street. Why? I have 4 children and a wife. What business do I have of giving $1 to somebody who I have absolutely no understanding of how it's going to be invested by him? It's a waste of money. The only argument there really is that I would agree with for giving bums money is it makes you feel good. So you're basically paying for some motivation. There's really no other reason. There's not a moral argument. There's not an ethical argument, because at some point I say, oh no, it's okay. It's good to give money to the poor. It's good. How much? How much? Oh, well, the Bible says that's a fucking cop-out. Don't tell me numbers you got from books. Just tell me how much. When is it too much? When is it not enough? Let me look at your children's clothes. How many shirts do they have? How many pairs of pants do they have? How many sneakers do they have? Do they have a video game? Do they have a TV in their room? Do they have separate rooms, their own rooms? Is all that really necessary? Do you know how many people you could feed with that money? Like, we could play this game all day long. It's nonsense. Right from the first step, I say these people aren't worth my investment. If somebody asks why, I would say I don't have enough capital to invest in all the things that have priority over this person and have something left over. My kids get my investment. People connected to me get my investment. The reason I have such a productive relationship with this idea is because all of my fuel comes from an internal source. It comes from my relationship with my mission, my relationship with my perfect self, my pure self. If you guys have watched my power program, the Alliance Trivium, then you understand the lingo that I'm using. Any source of energy that comes externally is motivation, and that's not the way the engine runs. So what do we see with haters? We see haters that that will outright, just identify themselves as, oh, you're full of shit, you're this, you're that. You're somebody who wants to you're just trying to show off, or you're fake, or you're phony, or The other day I saw a guy with a hat. He was selling a hat, and it said, "Give violence a chance," I think, or I think "Give violence a chance" was the name of the hat, and he was modeling it, and the comments were just, it was like a audition for a comedy writer's skit, and they were just, what do you know about violence? Now listen, I don't know who the guy is. I don't know. It might have been a model. It might have been somebody. Like, I don't give a shit. All these people that are writing this, just think about what the motivations are for taking some time out of their day to invest a communication into somebody who's completely disconnected. It's like, what's your goal? What's your goal from doing that? Or for doing that? If you don't know what it is, then you should really question whether or not you should be doing it in the first place. The more discipline we have, the more of an understanding of our mission, the easier it is to stay on task. One of the things I have a rule. I got a message from a friend of mine a few months back, and he said, this mutual friend of ours, he's out of his fucking mind. He's being fucking stupid. And he was like, I'm going to say something to him. And I said, listen, here's my protocol with that. If any one of my social media friends writes something that I am so opposed to philosophically that I actually feel like I'm getting emotional over, right? I'm getting energy from this. I will either unfollow or unfriend, or maybe even sometimes block them. I never write on somebody else's wall some sort of attack. I'm all about conversation. And if there's a conversation to be had, I want to initiate it. But I'm never attacking people. If I don't respect you, I wouldn't even comment in the first place. But the people who just go around making comments on other people's pages, I don't understand what it is, that they think they're getting out of that. So you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be wasting your time doing that. I put up a post a little while ago about me swinging the Gada in my backyard here, and I did the treadmill today. I did some walking today. I did a whole bunch of mobility stuff. I did a bunch of push-ups. All my sons beat me in push-ups today, by the way. I told them to give me a month. I did a whole bunch of stuff, and I put up the post with me swinging the Gada. And my whole thing was, what did you do today? What did you do today? And I said, I didn't care what it was. I don't care if you, walked around the block once. I don't care if you, did 5 minutes of stretching, or if you fucking ran 10 miles, or, had a personal PR and squats. It's like, you got to do something. One of the biggest foundational reasons for that philosophy is it prevents you from filling the voids of your time with nonsense, with emotion, with misguided, undirected energy. I'll admit right now, I'm not perfect. I would say I've probably got it down to 5 times a day. It was probably 50 at one point. But 5 times a day, I see a post and I start writing something. And then I'm like, delete. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Go do something more productive. I'm training myself to be more in line with my mission. I'm not perfect. I'm climbing my ladder just like everybody else. Some people are fortunate enough to have the temperament whereby they don't even have that response, right? You want to be somebody who has such a developed and thorough understanding of who he is and where he's going that you don't have time nor energy to invest in anybody that is looking to take some of your energy to validate their identity. It's a slave's mindset. If they want somebody else, whether good, bad, or indifferent, however it is, but somebody else's energy, if they want that to be a component of how they see themselves as being legitimate, you're not the person to help them, nor are you helping yourself by engaging with them. I don't know whose quote it was. think it's attributed to Einstein, but that just might be one of those meme things. But it says never argue with he says never argue with a stupid person. They'll drag you down to their level and they'll beat you with experience. And couldn't be truer. Right now, my schedule is as full as it's been in a long while. By design, one of the big reasons is I need to stay focused. Why do I need to stay focused? Because like all of us, I'm running out of time. I have to do shit. I look at the things that I know that I should have gotten done already. And holy fuck, man. It's like that list is, it's a big one. And, where they say the two best times to plant a tree are 20 years ago and today. It's the same thing with chasing your ladder, getting up that ladder, developing your personal power. It's the same thing. So when it comes to haters, you got to understand it's not about being above them. Oh, you got to be above them. You got to, they're beneath you. They're, don't even include them in your paradigm. Don't even include them in your paradigm. An exercise I do with my coaching students, with things that tend to trigger them and make them emotional. Once we've identified them, I ask them, I said, okay, let's say that that morning that you experienced this thing, that morning before you left to go to work, you won $1 billion. Fucking $1 billion. Legitimate. Lotto, the mayor calls you, yeah, we're giving you $1 billion. However you need to frame it to understand that or get to that point, you got $1 billion. If you had $1 billion, what would be the significance of this? What would be the significance of the thing that, the guy who lives down the road said to you at the restaurant the other day? Like, what would be the significance of all those trivial things that you're now using to validate your days? Right? The whole, visual of the old lady out her window, on the first floor in the apartment building in the city. She knows everything that's going on in the block, everything that's going around in the neighborhood. We all had those people. If you live in the city, we all knew, older ladies like that. Well, what was it that everybody's business did for those old ladies? It gave them something to do. It validated their existence. They had a role, right? We all know it's even been proven scientifically. If you don't have a purpose, you tend to start, your health starts to decline, your will to live starts to decline. All these things that make us crushers just starts to fall by the wayside. Purpose is a significant thing. What I'm arguing for here is your purpose should be an internal one. If nobody's ever giving it to you, nobody could ever take it away. Nobody needs other identities to validate their own. I have a concept called Transcendent Alliance, and I've spoken about it before. And those of you that use religion, God or gods, or ancestors, and it could be anything from an ancient ancestor from a land that you identify with, or it could be your dead father. My father passed away, and it could be a transcendent alliance with that energy. All those things, understand, funnel through you. So it is still an internal process, because all those things are out of reach, out of the way of your influence. So when you are in an emotional state, those things stay the way they stay. Like navigating with the North Star hundreds of years ago in the ocean, it's like, okay, no matter where I am, that's going to tell me where I'm going. Because no matter how lost I get, that never does. These transcendent alliances allow us to internalize even a correction for getting back on path. I grew up I was a very violent young man. I fought all the time. That was the way I dealt with stuff. And it was an external source of validation. It was an external source of motivation. I thought that was who I was. I thought that that's what I had to do, because I had built an identity that I understood at the time. I couldn't even fathom it being changed. I couldn't fathom becoming so powerful that all of those external sources became obsolete. So I had to learn this the hard way. I got locked up as a teenager. I had, fights where I was in fear of my life. I've been shot at. I've been chased with guns and knives, and I've been jumped. I've run through it. Why? I would say almost every single instance, because I was looking for external validation. Social media has exploded this coping mechanism in people. This idea of, I'm going to get other people to make me feel good about myself. You do it long enough, that becomes the only formula you feel you're effective at. Now it's, you're the person who makes a post and you're checking it every 30 seconds to see who liked it. Now it's who loved it, who was wowed by it, who was angry at it. All these things validate who we are. These are the rituals that people are filling their lives with. What's my response to that? Number one, ask yourself, what's the point? Saying you've always done it, that's not an argument. Saying it's what you like to do, that's not an argument. Like to do something better. It's not very confusing. All right? So, got a couple of comments here. Rob Russell. Oh, you got to visit New York. Come by. What's up, Texas? Todd, what's up, Big Todd? He said, Goggins says motivation is temporary, comes and goes, be driven. David Goggins is one of my favorite people on the planet, and he's one of those guys that, I kind of hope I never meet, because it's only downhill from here. But if you pay attention to Goggins' daily rituals, he works out 2-3 times a day. The things he does physically as an endurance athlete is just, fucking incredible. And his mindset's just unshakable. Some people look at Goggins and they'll say, yeah, but, he's like on his 3rd or 4th marriage, and I don't know how many kids he has, and doesn't even take care of them. And it's like, listen, man, that's not what Goggins is for. As far as we're concerned, that's not what Goggins is for. If you're moving Goggins into your house, Goggins is marrying your wife, I guess your ex-wife, or daughter. I meant to go with daughter, I said wife. If he goes with your daughter, if he's joining your business, if you're going to hire him, if you're like, then you got to do some research as to, all right, what's this guy about? What's the big picture? I don't expect people to be perfect. And as far as Goggins is concerned, it's one of the reasons why I probably don't want to meet him. Because I just like the fact that he's this modeled, energy that I have no influence over. I can watch his videos, I can get fired up, and I can leverage that internally to be on mission. It's a video. I can watch that video whenever I want. So motivation, absolutely. It comes and goes because it's external, because it's somebody else giving it to you. All right? Elliot says, good work on the fast. The only thing I do fast is eat. All right, so Elliot, you're going to get spotlighted here for a second. So Elliot, I've known for, 16 years, 15, 16 years. Elliot used to be, I don't even know, 400 fucking pounds, 350. Trained with me for years, got down to, I want to say 180. Now he's a police officer. I'm not going to say where, but he's doing, great job, great work. But the joke of, the only thing I do fast is eat. Elliot, people who don't give a fuck about you will laugh at that. I won't. If you think you're overweight right now, and I don't know if you are, I haven't seen you in forever. Hope you're well. But, I care about you enough to tell you that I'm not going to laugh at that. And you should look into fasting and get back on the horse. Dave Martell, what's up, Big Dave? He says, daters are thralls that are now enslaved by the most evil master of their own ego. It's true. It's true. You know, it's the like and share generation right now. Everybody's been programmed to filter their identity through a mechanism designed by people who have never had your best interests at heart. You know, and the only way you could, you know, not the only way, loaded term, the most powerful way that I've learned to overcome all of these temptations and all of these pitfalls and booby traps is to unplug from mechanisms that are designed by other people who don't give a fuck about you. You need to get off social media. I'll be honest, like, and this is like a, you know, a somewhat paradoxical relationship I have with social media. I make money through social media. I sell merchandise. I market my coaching. I'm gonna let it slip during this video for you guys that are hanging out with me late night. I'm going to release a new podcast in the next, probably within the next week, which I'm pretty excited about. Like, I use social media to leverage my pursuit of my own mission, to climb my own ladder. Not saying that if you're not doing that, you're an idiot or anything like that. I'm just saying understand the role that this plays. Like, when I'm putting stuff out that I think is valuable and potentially valuable for people who want to use it, you know, and leverage it in their own journeys, and I see somebody come on and you know, just be a wise ass or be an asshole or, you know, or a hater or something like that, block. It's like there are billions of people in this world. I do not have to argue with that one motherfucker. Like, I don't. It's too much shit we have to do. It takes a level of a relationship with your own identity to be able to see that, to be able to gain the observer's perspective, to be able to say, wait a minute, what the fuck am I going to argue with this guy for? I don't even know this guy. You know, Zig Ziglar, if you guys have ever listened to Zig Ziglar, he's one of my favorites. He says you can get anything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And I remember the first time I heard that, had to be 15 years ago, at least 15 years ago. And I gave it like the De Niro, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm not getting everybody what they want. Because that's where I was at that point. Not only was that my level of maturity at that point, it was also my level of power. I understand now that when you want something that comes from an external source, you need to bring value to that external source. And it's not in the form of a debt in that, hey, let me get this and I'll pay you back somehow. No, it's in exhibiting a level of power yourself in modeled behavior where opportunities are almost attracted to you. They gravitate toward you. There's nothing that I want that I don't have except the next rung on my ladder. I don't give a fuck about how much money I'm making. I don't give a fuck about, you know, where my weight is, to be honest. I don't give a fuck about what my weight is. I don't care what kind of car I drive. I just got rid of my Honda Element and got a minivan. I don't give a fuck what kind of car I drive. My wife drives a Tahoe, and I drive a minivan. I don't give a fuck. None of these things mean anything to me. The only thing I'm interested in is getting to that next rung. And it has nothing to do with anybody else. If there is somebody that I know can allow me to build a synergy with them in order to mutually benefit us to where I can pursue my mission, him, his, she, hers, the two of us, ours, whatever the case is, then I will bring value to that relationship. And I'll try to produce that alliance, and I'll try to honor that alliance and make it flourish to the best of my ability. But I don't go around needing things. The people who live in the projects that have, $50,000 cars, and they're going on vacations to exotic places, and like, what the fuck are you doing, man? What are you doing? Slave mindset. It's a slave mindset. Rob Russell says, continue to walk that path. Wall said exactly. They may not get it right away, but later it's possible. Some lessons are better caught than taught. Well, here's the thing. We do ourselves a disservice when we think the only information that's out there and the only lessons to be learned come from the mouths of other people. I don't know if I've ever shared this model before of the journey and what the journey looks like, but imagine a long road, and you have a goal that's set so far down the timeline. You really have no business setting a goal that far in the timeline, but you set it not because that is where you're going to be tunnel vision to get to, but you need a direction. And that's the best use for those long-term, goals, let's say. The obstacles, though, that present themselves are like hills on a road as you go. As you traverse, as you go over these hills, you discover new aspects to that journey that you couldn't see when you were at that starting line. You couldn't see it because from that starting line, you couldn't see what was behind those hills. You saw those hills, but you just assumed that everything that was in sight from here to that long-term mission was what you were going to have to deal with. But then all sorts of different stressors and adversities present themselves. Well, I'm the first one to tell you, if you reach the other side of one of those hills and you enter some form of adversity that makes you question whether or not you should get to that mission, I'm going to make it very easy for you. If you decide to alter your mission, it should be because you saw a road sign that said more power that way. It is never the pressure itself that you should succumb to. Finding pressure in life should be like finding water in a desert. When you find it, don't fucking throw it away. Don't ignore it. Don't devalue it. So the adversity you find when, you climb past one of these hills, one of these long-term goals, you probably never had business setting in the first place, but you did it for direction. Maybe you did it for motivation. It's understandable. You have to understand that there may be a point in that mission where you see a sign that says more power this way. No, you should stay focused on your goals. You should stay... Oh yeah, well, when you were 10, remember when you wanted to be a policeman, a marine biologist, an astronaut? It's the same thing. How come you never did that? Our weak filters and our weak language and our weak self-talk produces something like, oh, well, life got in the way. Well, if that's the case, you can go do it now. But it's not the case. You didn't want to do that. If I ever alter courses, somebody tells me, oh, I thought you were going to do this. How come you're doing this instead? Stronger mission. Stronger mission. Yeah, but what if they disagree with you? What if they criticize you? What if they make fun? They don't matter. I don't care. I don't care. I had about at least 20 people tell me, aren't you scared of losing your strength if you do it fast? Aren't you scared? It's like, first of all, motherfucker, I'm not fucking scared of anything. I'm not fucking scared of anything. Am I scared of losing muscle? I don't think fasting is a great way to build or maintain muscle. I think if you make a list of things that help you build or maintain muscle, I don't know if fasting is going to make the top 1,000. I don't know. Maybe it is. But I didn't know that. So I'm looking to fast for reasons that have no fucking thing to do with gaining or maintaining muscle. I'm a strong motherfucker regardless. I was sitting at 280 pounds, squatting over 600, for reps, benching 400 for reps. What the fuck did that get me? Aside from the ability to throw it out to other people so they responded in a way that validated my relationship with my physicality. That was one of my deficiencies right there. And for years, it was hiding in plain sight. How come I couldn't see it? Because all of my attributes of surplus physically were covering it. So I never had to look. I never had to look at that. I had an epiphany a few months ago. When I had that moment of clarity, it's taken me 2 months to lose 50 pounds. That's the speed that I operate at. That's the dedication and pressure I have. I've had people that have done coaching with me and it got real hot real quick. Really uncomfortable for them. There hasn't been a single person that I've ever coached that hasn't thanked me for progress they've made in their life. I don't even advertise, who I coach. I don't, have fucking Facebook ads with testimonials. Because it's, I make money doing it. Don't get that shit twisted. But I do it because it sharpens my sword. I do it because it takes all of these philosophies, all of these formulas and paradigms that I have that have used personally. I've helped other people install and implement to change their lives. Like, it sharpens my relationship. It deepens my relationship with all those things by doing my coaching. There's something to be said for an individual who exposes his vulnerabilities to reality and from that feedback designs a mission. If you're somebody who's an adult and is walking around, you don't have a job right now, that's called the loser formula. This guy has no job, but he drives a nice car. He's always got money. He's on welfare. He's getting checks. He's doing all these different things, but he doesn't have a job. Well, he's a black belt loser, I guess, like doctor loser, PhD. Like, I don't know what the fuck you want to call him. He's still a fucking loser because he's running a formula that loses. A man should leave home to go to work every single day. What if he doesn't have a job? Then his job that day is finding one. It's very simple. But individuals that do not expose their deficiencies will always be operating at a deficit. They'll always be operating at a deficit. If you have 10 doors to your castle, the invaders are coming. It's like some Lord of the Rings orc shit. 10 doors. 9 of them are the hardest, most unbreakable, unforgiving steel in the universe. And one of them's made out of fucking thin plywood. The orcs are going to get you. Such is life and all of its adversities with individuals that go around never changing that one fucking door. Doing nothing whenever they're asked about that door, but boast about the strength of all the others. When people care about you, they point out your deficiencies. They don't compliment your strengths. They don't compliment the surplus. Dave Martelli asked, what about the gods? I think I mentioned that a little while ago. Transcendent Alliance is a concept that I've been talking about for some time. And they're exactly, the types of models and figures and energies that I'm talking about. These people who are out of your reach. These energies that you can't fuck up with all of your imperfections, all of your deficiencies. You can't fuck it up. You can't knock the North Star out of its direction. That's what we build a relationship with when we talk about Transcendent Alliance. Again, if you guys haven't seen the Alliance Trivium, Probably worth watching. Rob Russell speaking loud and clear. Stay away from energy vampires. Energy vampires are the worst. I remember the first time I heard that term, it was from Dan Kennedy, business guru. And I think it was in a time management book. Still the same time management process I use today. And it's exactly right. It's the perfect phrase. You know, he's such a brilliant copywriter. It probably is. Because it's perfect. Energy vampires, they live off other people's energy. When they show up, they're not there to do anything for you but take your energy. Because they got to eat, right? Elliot says, yes, sir, I'm fat again, working on it, though. Hired a coach. Good for you. Get it going. You don't need anybody. Use coaches as tools. Make sure you're not using them as crutches. They're things that you could do that have absolutely nothing to do with anything else. If you can, Elliot, watch on YouTube my, I think it's called MC's Physical Mission. The video I put up a couple of days ago from my latest PressureCon event that I had last month. Check that out, and I talk about some of the mindset shifts that I had to make in order to get there. Todd says, I'm grateful for social media because of info like you and knowledge out there. I'm fucking tired of the weak bitches clogging my feed. Getting rid of that shit. As you absolutely should, Todd. Well, first off, thank you for the compliment. And that's what social media should be used for. Social media should not be used for a legitimate, or maybe not legitimate, but significant, I'll say, source of socialization. You've got to trade energy with people. You got to be in the space together with them. There are communications that we make that have nothing to do with the noises coming out of our face, and we have to share that. That is what allows us to fully communicate, to fully understand, to progress in alliances with other people. We can't do it through Zuckerberg's lens and filter. When you're on social media, you see somebody that's representing something you don't represent, or something that makes you emotional, just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Understand that it's making you emotional because you just have not gotten to the level of power where you are indifferent to those types of communications. It's not a knock on you, it's an acknowledgement. Why are strangers pissing you off? That shouldn't happen, right? Big Nick up in Canada. What's up, brother man? So, I think I'm going to leave it there. Solid info. If you guys have not yet checked it out, I'm going to get the link right now because I don't always organize these things like I should. I'm trying to log into a site, but the phone's in the way of the screen. Stand by. Bam, here it is. So, movement is mandatory. This philosophy, represented by this shirt, is the mindset that led me to lose 50 pounds in 2 months. It's something that I have already helped at least 50 people who have communicated directly with me that that they've been tracking my journey losing weight. And then the fast recruited a whole bunch of other people to start paying attention. Movement is mandatory is at the center of all of it. At the center of all of it. Tito, that's the first time I've ever been called Flacco in my life. But if you want to support the movement, support me, I'm going to put the link here. One of the things that I did this time, Venenoso in the house. What's up, brother man? One of the things that I did this time was make a whole bunch of products because I do them through Teespring, and Teespring's got it keeps adding like things you could pick. So this time I picked a fanny pack. I picked a beach towel. So I bought all this stuff that I usually don't buy. I also bought t-shirts. But if you're interested, you can go there and buy a shirt. I don't make a lot of money on shirts or merchandise through this, but I try to get energy, monetize specifically all these ideas that I have that I put out there. So if you are interested in that, do that. If you haven't watched the Alliance Trivium or PressureCon 5, later on in the week I'm going to be doing a discount for my Warrior Project program. If you are interested in watching the Alliance Trivium, don't buy it yet. It'll be $47. It's completely worth $47. But towards the end of the week, I'm going to announce a $120 a year sale for the site. The site's usually $497 a year. Plenty of people pay that. $120 a year is a special that I do once a year. And this year, I think I did it a few months ago at the onset of the shutdown. But I'm going to be doing it now. I'm starting my podcast. I got a whole bunch of shit going on, and I just want, positive, strong vibes and energy out there. And so I'm going to put that discount out there. So if you're interested in those things that I was referring to earlier, don't purchase the Power programs now. Wait until later in the week where you could join the site, have access to, I think I have almost 30 programs at this point, and a shit ton of power behind it. So that's that. I appreciate you guys. I'll be on soon with more updates and stuff. But until then, pressure to power, strength always wins, and movement is mandatory.